In January 2013, the Los Angeles Police Department released a short clip of surveillance footage, hoping to locate a missing tourist. The dimly lit elevator video captures a sequence of incomprehensible movements. A young woman steps in, frantically presses multiple buttons, and darts back out. She appears to hide flush against the interior wall, peering nervously out into the hallway as if tracking someone or something just out of frame. She moves her hands in strange, deliberate patterns, and throughout the entire sequence, the elevator doors remain inexplicably wide open. This chart shows the exponential spike in online engagement that followed. Within days, local news was eclipsed by a global phenomenon. Millions of people flooded message boards to analyze every frame, turning a grainy security recording into a piece of digital found footage. The footage spread so quickly because it lacked any clarifying information. Stripped of context, the video became a void that the public filled with their own fears and assumptions. The physical setting only deepened the suspicion. The video was recorded inside the Cecil Hotel, a nearly century-old building in downtown Los Angeles. Sitting near Skid Row, the Cecil carried a heavy reputation. True crime researchers spent years cataloging its violent history and links to notorious serial killers. This history acted as an accelerant. For amateur detectives, the erratic behavior in the elevator, combined with the building's morbid past, suggested only two possibilities: a complex criminal conspiracy or a paranormal event. As the digital search for a supernatural explanation intensified, the individual at the center of the video began to disappear. The focus shifted away from a missing person and toward the creation of a ghost story. Her name was Elisa Lam. She was a 21-year-old student at the University of British Columbia, described by those who knew her as thoughtful and creative. In January 2013, she set out on a solo trip down the West Coast. It was meant to be a journey of personal growth, documented in her posts about local bookstores and the quiet rewards of traveling alone. She maintained a personal blog where she wrote with an intense vulnerability. To her, this was a private journal. To the internet, it would eventually be treated as a collection of hidden messages. There was a critical medical variable that the public was missing. Elisa lived with bipolar disorder, a condition that requires careful management. When viewed through the lens of a severe psychological crisis, the elevator footage loses its mystery. Those frantic movements are no longer evidence of a ghost, but the tragic documentation of a young woman suffering a break from reality. Elisa had been checking in with her family daily, so when her call stopped on January 31st, her parents immediately alerted the authorities. The Los Angeles Police Department conducted an exhaustive physical search of the hotel. They deployed dogs and canvassed the rooftop, yet for 19 days, they found no trace of her. While police hit dead ends, the internet created a carnival atmosphere. Forums were flooded with accusations against hotel staff and even other guests, as commenters dissected Elisa's private writings for proof of a cover-up. While millions of people debated frame rates and shadows, the physical reality of the situation was slowly manifesting in the hotel's own plumbing. On February 19th, guests at the Cecil began complaining about the tap water. They reported an odd taste, a dark tint, and a sudden drop in pressure. Maintenance staff climbed to the roof to inspect the building's 4 massive industrial water tanks. Inside one of them, they found Elisa's body. This wireframe of the rooftop shows why the discovery was so confounding. The tanks were 8 feet tall and located in a restricted area. Reaching them required bypassing a locked door and navigating a roof that was supposedly alarmed. She had been submerged in that dark, industrial tank for nearly 3 weeks, floating silently above the rooms where guests lived and police searched, all while her image was being consumed by millions. The physical logistics remain the most difficult part of the story to reconcile. Even in the state of distress, the act of scaling the tank and moving the heavy lid alone presents a significant contradiction to the building's security protocols. This difficulty is why the internet remained locked in debate. Many viewers refused to accept that a person in a crisis could navigate such a complex environment without assistance. The medical examiner's autopsy would eventually serve as the final arbiter, attempting to separate the noise of online speculation from the hard physical facts of her death. The saga of Elisa Lam serves as a warning about the dehumanizing nature of digital interest. When tragedy is treated as a community project, the human suffering at its center is often lost in the noise. The elevator video became a piece of found footage horror for the internet, but in reality, it was the final, agonizing record of a person who needed help, not an audience. The ultimate lesson of the Cecil Hotel is one of empathy. Behind every viral mystery is a real life that deserves to be remembered with dignity, rather than curiosity. When that security footage hit the internet, it detonated. Millions of people suddenly became amateur detectives, analyzing every erratic hand gesture and frame of the grainy video, sharing it across countless message boards. The facts, as the public understood them, felt ripped straight from a thriller. A young woman steps into an elevator, acts as if she is hiding from an unseen pursuer, vanishes entirely, and is later discovered weeks later inside a rooftop water tank. Faced with an impossible-sounding sequence of events, viewers rushed to fill in the blanks. Theories exploded overnight, ranging from paranormal interference to elaborate murder plots involving the hotel staff. The danger of crowdsourcing an investigation is the gap in clinical literacy. When a viewer unfamiliar with severe mental illness watches behavior consistent with a psychiatric emergency, the footage looks entirely alien. That lack of context creates a vacuum. When an online audience is presented with a mystery that lacks an immediate, rational explanation, the internet will inevitably invent a more dramatic one. To understand why the internet reached such horrifying conclusions, you have to look at where this happened. The building's troubled reputation primed the public to expect the worst. Long before this incident, the Cecil Hotel had spent decades accumulating a grim history. It was the site of multiple well-documented suicides, earning it a dark mythology among locals and true crime tourists alike. During his serial murder spree in the 1980s, Richard Ramirez used the Cecil as a temporary residence. A few years later, the Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger also lived at the hotel while committing a series of murders in Los Angeles. This macabre history acted as a massive confirmation bias. It conditioned the public to see a horror story, blinding many to the possibility of a medical tragedy. The empirical facts of the case sit in direct opposition to the internet lore. The official investigation from the coroner's office provides a different sequence of events. The autopsy results were definitive. There were no signs of assault, no defensive injuries, and no forensic evidence pointing to another person's involvement in her death. Online sleuths pushed back on these findings, pointing to what they believed was an impossible logistical hurdle: the rooftop water tanks. Accessing the roof required navigating a specific sequence of doors, including at least one alarmed fire escape exit. While this route required deliberate action, investigators concluded it was physically possible for a single person to navigate this path completely alone. Despite irrefutable forensic evidence ruling out an attacker, the accidental drowning ruling failed to satisfy the public because it didn't explain the bizarre elevator footage. The explanation for her behavior is hidden within the toxicology findings. Blood work showed no illegal substances, only prescribed medications consistent with the treatment of bipolar disorder. Reports confirmed she had recently changed or was actively adjusting her medication dosage, which is a known trigger for a severe psychiatric episode. Viewing the elevator footage through this clinical lens changes the perception entirely. The erratic movements align with the reality of a manic or psychotic state. The footage documents the physical toll of a solitary mental health crisis, recorded in real time. While the internet refused to let the conspiracy go, the physical world moved forward. Investigators officially closed this case over a decade ago. The hotel was sold, designated a historical monument by the city, and underwent massive renovations, literally rebuilding the site of the speculation. The forensic file is shut. The mystery now exists exclusively in the minds of those who refuse to accept a mundane, difficult truth. If we strip away the documentaries and the podcast deep dives, we are left with the undeniable facts of the event. A young woman experienced a terrifying medical emergency, completely alone and thousands of miles away from her home. The true crime industry often flattens real people, stripping away the humanity of a victim to turn their trauma into consumable content. Consuming a tragedy without its proper context sacrifices human empathy for the sake of entertainment.